Elena Brooks. I am 34 years old. 4 months ago, my parents went to court and tried to prove that I was mentally unstable and unfit to control my own life. They wanted legal control over me. My money. My apartment. Everything. I still remember the day the letter came. It was a cold Wednesday evening in October. I came home from work around 6:30 p.m. My routine was always the same. Heat leftovers. Sit at my small wooden table. Check emails. Read a few pages of a book. Sleep by 10. My life was quiet. Peaceful. Mine. I lived in a 480 square foot studio apartment on the third floor of an old building. The elevator didn't work half the time. The hallway smelled faintly like cleaning chemicals and old carpet. But it was my space. The rent was $820 per month. I had never missed a payment in 8 years. That evening, I checked my mailbox downstairs. Electric bill. Water bill. Advertisement. And then, a thick white envelope. County Civil Court. My stomach tightened. I didn't open it until I got upstairs. I stood near the sink and tore it open carefully. Petition for guardianship and conservatorship. Petitioners, Daniel Brooks and Marie Brooks. Respondent, Elena Brooks. Reason, alleged incapacity to manage personal and financial affairs. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Not because I didn't understand it. I understood it perfectly. I worked in the county records department. I processed court filings every day. I had seen this exact document hundreds of times. Usually filed for elderly people with dementia. Or people with severe disabilities. Not healthy 34-year-old women with full-time jobs. My own parents had sat in a lawyer's office and told a stranger that I was mentally incompetent. I slowly sat down at my small table. On the table was a black notebook. Inside that notebook were 10 years of financial records, written in my own handwriting. My father always said I was bad with money. He said I was irresponsible. Immature. Too sensitive to survive in the real world. But numbers don't lie. And I knew something my parents did not. They thought I had almost nothing. They were wrong. Very wrong. My father, Daniel Brooks, is the kind of man who believes the loudest voice in the room is automatically correct. At family dinners, he sat at the head of the table. Always. Back straight. Hands folded. Voice strong and commanding. If my mother tried to explain something, he would interrupt her. If I disagreed with him, he would laugh. "What do you know about that?" he would say. He ran a mid-sized construction company for 25 years. At least, that's what everyone believed. Nice truck. Nice house. Expensive watch. He loved appearances. My mother, Marie, was different. She didn't yell. She cried. She worried loudly. She told relatives I was struggling. If I didn't call her for a week, she would tell my aunt that I was depressed. If I skipped a family event, she would say I was isolating myself. Together, they were powerful. My father controlled with dominance. My mother controlled with guilt. And if you resisted them, you became the problem. 6 months before that court letter arrived, my father's construction company quietly filed for bankruptcy. Nobody in the family knew. Not my aunts. Not church friends. Not neighbors. I only knew because I processed the filing at work. Yes. The paperwork came across my desk. Wallace Construction, Chapter 7 Bankruptcy. Assets insufficient. Debt high. I didn't tell anyone. I just made a copy for my personal file. Because something inside me said, "You may need this someday," people always ask. If they were so controlling, why didn't you leave earlier? It wasn't simple. When I was 23, my father co-signed my student loans. $52,000. He reminded me constantly. If you ever turn against this family, I'll ruin your credit. I didn't know co-signers couldn't just ruin someone like that. I was young. Afraid. So I worked quietly. Paid every dollar myself. At 32, I made the final payment. I cried in my car for 15 minutes. Because finally, he had no financial hold on me. There was also my younger brother, Lucas. He was 14 years younger than me. Smart. Quiet. Still living at home. If I angered my father, Lucas would suffer. So I stayed patient. Lucas turned 21 last year. He earned a scholarship and moved to another state. Safe. Independent. That was when my father realized he was losing control. And that was when the court petition appeared. Here's something most people don't know about working in county records. You see everything. Property sales. Tax liens. Foreclosures. Estate transfers. By age 25, I started noticing patterns. Small homes being sold at tax auctions for very low prices. Sometimes $20,000 for houses worth $120,000. So I researched. I learned about index funds. Long-term investing. Compound growth. I opened an investment account with $500. I lived cheaply. Rice. Beans. Library books. No vacations. Every spare dollar went into investments. At 27, I bought my first tax auction property. It needed repairs. I learned from YouTube videos. Painted walls myself. Fixed cabinets. Rented it out for steady income. Then I bought another. And another. Quietly. No one in my family knew. They believed I still lived paycheck to paycheck in a tiny box apartment. They laughed at my old car. They thought I was small. Invisible. What they didn't know was this. By the time that court letter arrived, my net worth was over $780,000. And growing. After I refused to sign voluntary guardianship papers, my father got aggressive. Relatives began calling me. Your mom says you're not doing well. Your dad is worried about your mental state. My mother posted on social media. When a parent tries to help but the child pushes away, it breaks the heart. Everyone commented. You're such a loving mother. I saved screenshots of everything. Every message. Every text. My father texted me at midnight one night. You live alone like a hermit. You think you're smarter than me? I didn't respond. I just saved it. Timestamped. Filed. Because I knew something he didn't. In court, facts matter more than volume. Then something unexpected happened. The judge ordered both parties to submit full financial disclosures. Assets. Debts. Income. Everything. When I read that line, I smiled. Because my father believed I had. One small apartment lease. An old car. A low-paying job. He thought the court would see me as fragile. Instead, the court was about to see the truth. And when the truth walked into that courtroom, it would not look fragile at all. The hearing was scheduled for a Monday morning at 9 a.m. I wore a simple navy blue suit. Nothing flashy. Nothing dramatic. Just calm and professional. When I walked into the courtroom, my father was already there. Back straight. Jaw tight. Expensive suit. Next to him sat my mother, holding a white tissue like she had practiced in front of a mirror. Their lawyer stood beside them, confident, relaxed, almost smiling. They looked at me like this was already finished. Like I had already lost. But they didn't know what I brought with me. When the judge entered, everyone stood. The case was called Brooks versus Brooks. Even hearing it sounded strange. A father against his daughter. My father's lawyer began first. He spoke smoothly. Your Honor, Miss Elena Brooks has demonstrated signs of social withdrawal, financial irresponsibility, and emotional instability. Her parents are only seeking to protect her from harm. My mother sniffed loudly. My father nodded slowly, like a concerned hero. Then came the psychological report. A doctor claimed I showed signs of impaired judgment. The judge looked at me. Miss Brooks, have you been examined by this doctor? No, Your Honor. The courtroom went quiet. Rachel, my lawyer, stood up. Your Honor, the psychological report was written without ever meeting my client. It is entirely based on statements provided by the petitioners. The judge frowned. He looked directly at my father's lawyer. That is highly irregular. Strike one. Then came the moment. The judge requested financial disclosures from both parties. My father's lawyer handed over their documents first. I watched carefully. There were whispers between him and my father. The judge flipped through pages. Mr. Brooks, your construction company filed Chapter 7 bankruptcy 6 months ago? My father stiffened. Yes, temporary hardship, Your Honor. And your home is currently in pre-foreclosure? Silence. My mother looked down. The judge raised his eyebrows. Rachel stood. Your Honor, may we submit Miss Brooks' financial disclosure? She handed over a thick, organized binder. The judge opened it. He flipped once. Then twice. Then he stopped. He looked at me. Miss Brooks, you own 3 rental properties? Yes, Your Honor. Total equity estimated at $640,000? Yes. And an investment portfolio valued at $312,000? Yes. The courtroom became very quiet. My father's face changed. It was the first time in my life I saw him without control. The judge leaned back in his chair. Mr. Brooks, on what basis are you claiming your daughter cannot manage her finances? No answer came immediately. Because the truth was obvious. I wasn't incapable. I was successful. Quietly successful. Rachel then requested permission to submit additional evidence. Screenshots. Texts from my father. You think you're smarter than me? You'll regret this. You live alone like a hermit. The judge read them slowly. He did not look pleased. Then Rachel said something that changed everything. Your Honor, we believe this petition was filed not out of concern, but out of financial desperation. She handed the judge a copy of the bankruptcy filing. The same one I had processed months ago. The judge connected the dots very quickly. A bankrupt father. An independent daughter with assets. A sudden petition for control. It didn't look like protection. It looked like motive. The judge turned to me. Miss Brooks, are you employed? Yes, Your Honor. County Records Department. 11 years. Have you ever missed rent payments? No. Any history of mental health hospitalization? No. Any criminal record? No. He closed the file. Then he looked at my parents. Guardianship is one of the most serious legal actions this court can take. It removes a person's rights. It is not a tool for family disagreements or financial rescue. My father looked smaller. For the first time in my life. Smaller. The judge continued. This petition is denied. My mother gasped. My father opened his mouth, but said nothing. Then the judge added something unexpected. Furthermore, the court finds the psychological evaluation deeply concerning. I will be referring this matter for further review. Strike 2. And 3. When we stepped into the hallway, my father tried to approach me. Elena. I stopped him with one sentence. You should have asked. He looked confused. You never once asked me how I was doing. You never asked what I had built. You just assumed. My mother began to cry again. But the performance felt empty now. I turned and walked away. For the first time in my life, I walked past them without fear. 2 months later, the foreclosure on their house became official. The bankruptcy closed. Their lawyer quietly withdrew from representation. The doctor who wrote the fake evaluation was investigated. As for me, nothing dramatic changed. I still live in my small studio. I still drive my old car. I still invest every month. But something inside me changed completely. I no longer feel small. I no longer feel controlled. And most importantly, I no longer feel guilty for building a life that does not depend on anyone's approval. A week after the hearing, I received a short email from my brother. I heard what happened. I'm proud of you. That meant more than the court victory. Because control ends quietly. But freedom? Freedom feels loud inside your chest.